Taeyang had always thought that if something like this ever happened to him, it would be loud, obvious, the kind of realization that knocks the air out of your lungs and leaves you gasping on the floor. Jun Jungkook sat across from him, legs stretched out, one arm thrown carelessly over the back of the other. He was laughing about something stupid, something that didn't matter, and Taeyong found himself watching the way his mouth curved when he smiled, the way his eyes softened when he looked at him. "You're not even listening," Jungkook said, nudging Taeyong's knee with his foot. Taeyong started slightly, then smiled, hoping it looked convincing. "I am. You were saying your boss is an idiot." Jungkook laughed, loud and easy. "See? You weren't listening." Taeyong laughed with him, but something inside his chest tightened instead of loosening. He had been listening, yes, but not to the words. He had been listening to the way Jungkook's voice sounded when it dropped lower, when it softened around him. He had when Jungkook mentioned her, Taeyang felt a pang in his chest. "There's this girl at work," he said, scrolling through his phone. "She's cute, smart too. I think I might ask her out." The words were simple. They should not have hurt. Taeyang felt it anyway, sharp and immediate, like something vital inside him had cracked without making a sound. He kept his face steady through sheer will, nodded like this was expected, like this was fine. "That's good," he said. "You should." Jungkook looked up at him, searching his face for something. Taeyang did not let it show. "Yeah? Yeah," Taeyang repeated, forcing a smile. "You deserve that." Jungkook accepted the answer easily because he had no reason not to. That was the cruelest part. He did not see what he had taken just by wanting a life that made sense for him. Later, when apartment grew quieter and Jungkook retreated to his room, Taeyang stayed where he was, staring at the darkened television screen. He told himself the whole feeling was embarrassment. That this was what happened when you leaned too heavily on someone who was never meant to hold you that way. Jungkook arrived not long after. He looked tired, eyes shadowed, expression careful in the way it always was. For a moment, Taeyang's breath caught. The resemblance still startled him sometimes. Even after all these years, the same face, the same familiar angles that his mind had been circling all evening. Hyung went to sleep, Jungkook said, softly looking up a bottle. "I thought you might want a drink." Taeyang hesitated. "You didn't have to." "I know," Jungkook replied, and there was something in his voice that suggested he knew much more than that. They sat together at the small kitchen table, the light above them bright. Jungkook poured the drink and slid the glass toward him. Their fingers brushed briefly. Taeyang flinched before he could stop himself. "I'm sorry," he said quickly, the words stumbling out like a confession he hadn't prepared for. Jungkook withdrew his hand slowly, carefully, as if sudden moments might make something worse. "You don't have to apologize." Taeyang looked at him, really looked, and the similarities unraveled. Jungkook's gaze lingered where Jungkook's never did. "You are quiet tonight," Jungkook said. Taeyang swallowed, fingers tightening around the glass. "Just tired." Jungkook's worried eyes skimmed over him, and then he reached out to hold Taeyang's hand, giving it a reassuring caress. "It will be okay. I promise." Taeyang looked at him with confused eyes but didn't say anything. And then throughout the night they drank together in silence. The other night when Jungkook steps into the living room and freezes for a moment because there in the dim light of the lamp Taeyang is sitting with shoulders hunched and breathing that comes too fast, too ragged. The sight stops Jungkook in his tracks. He had not expected to see him like this. So small, so fractured in a way that pierces harder than he imagined. From behind, a soft tap on his shoulder makes him turn, and there is Jungkook, smiling, looking all happy. What has got you smiling like that? Jungkook asked. Your brother bagged a baddie and made her his, you loser boy. He smacks Jungkook on the head and then leaves. Jungkook approaches cautiously, his footsteps gentle against the carpet, and sits beside Taeyang, careful not to growl him, but unable to mask the ache in his chest. Taeyang, he asked, voice low. What did he? Taeyang inhales sharply, the sound trembling through the quiet room, and when he finally exhales, it is like releasing a piece of himself he had been clutching too tightly. Jungkook, he says, the name tastes bitter on his tongue. He asked her out, and they are finally together. His voice croaks, slightly raw. The young's chest tightens at the sight of the young's eyes, glassy and impossibly heavy with grief. The pain is written across his face, impossible to hide, and for a moment, Jungkook feels it all collapse inside him, the helplessness, the fury, the longing that has been threading through their lives like a wound that never healed. He cannot hold himself back. He reaches out, pulls Taeyang close, and presses him against his cheek. Taeyang goes limp for a moment, and then the shuddering begins, quiet at first, then louder, until the weight of it fills the room. And what feels like a lifetime wrapped in each other's arms, Taeyang slowly pulls away, still trembling, and rises. He goes to the kitchen, opens the cabinet, and pulls out the bottles of liquor. His movements sharp but practiced. Jungkook follows silently, watching as Taeyang carries the glass to the edge of the pool outside. The moonlight shivering his skin, he undresses carefully, slips into the water and drinks, the alcohol mingling with the cold bite of the night. Jungkook does not speak, only sits on the edge, worried and unable to stop himself from imagining the harm that could come if the young's grief drives him too far. After some time, Taeyang surfaces, the water dripping down his shoulder, and looks directly at Jungkook. You are Jungkook, he says, and then there is a tremor in his voice, a need for confirmation that is almost childlike in its desperation. The young Jungkook's heart hurts, but he nods, swallowing the lump in his throat. Yes, yes, it's me, he replies softly. Without thinking, the young cups Jungkook's hands against his face, pressing them into his cheeks, rubbing frantically as though trying to anchor himself, trying to make the grief and the confusion and the longing stop for just a moment. Please, love me. Why don't you love me? He cries quietly at first and then harder, sound raw and unguarded, echoing across the water. Jungkook reaches in, holding him, letting the tears fall freely until neither of them has the strength to separate. He presses a kiss on his wet forehead, holding him tightly. Oh, Petal, I love you. I love you so dearly, my heart. And then instinctively, in the quiet devastation of their shared pain, Jungkook leans forward and their lips meet. It's not rushed, not passionate in the way of desire, but in the way of desperate recognition, a bridge across months of unspoken longing, grief, and loss. The world narrows to that single touch, that single heartbeat, and for the first time that night, they are not broken. Not yet. The next seconds that follow are something that Jungkook will forever thank heavens for. He touches Taeyang's. His big hands explore his body from head to his toes almost, and their lips never leave each other. Taeyang drags Jungkook into the pool, wraps his legs around his waist, and clings to his body like he is the reason of his existence at that time. Their bodies press together, and Taeyang's urgently moving hands get rid of Jungkook's clothes. For the next few hours, Jungkook knows that whatever he is doing is wrong. He shouldn't be taking advantage of someone, especially not Taeyang. But the sound he makes, the screams, the way he holds on to Jungkook makes Jungkook not think about anything else but only Taeyang's pleasure. Even when it hurt to hear Taeyang mourn his twin brother's name as he kissed him, mocked him, and pounded into him, he couldn't stop. He just couldn't. Next morning, Taeyang wakes to an unfamiliar quiet. The bed beside him is cold. He sits up too quickly, the room tilting slightly, heart pounding as panic creeps in. Cook? His voice sounds hoarse, uncertain, as if he already knows the answer. There is no reply there. He drags himself out of the bed, every step reminding him of the marks scattered across his skin, of the way his body had been held together by someone who should never had to do that for him. He grabs a towel and disappears into the bathroom, letting the shower run hot, standing under it as if the water might rinse away the shame pulling in his chest. When he steps back into the bedroom, towel hanging low in his hips, hair damp and curling at his temples, he stops short. Jungkook is there, fully dressed, shoes on, and jacket zipped, standing near the window like he has been there for a while. Their eyes meet. Something in Taeyang's face changes instantly. His brows draw together, confusion giving him a way to a slow, awful clarity as he really looks at him. Not the half dream haze from last night, not grief clouded vision, just Jungkook, watching him with an expression that is already bracing for impact. Taeyang's breath stutters. It was you, he says finally, voice barely above a whisper. Last night it was you, not your brother. The words land like a blade. Jungkook does not flinch, but something deep inside his chest fractures all the same. He knows once, jaw tight, eyes steady, even as something raw flickers behind them. Yes, he says softly. That was me. Silence then, for a really long time. Tiang remains standing, arms wrapped around himself, staring at the floor as if it might give him answers. Jungkook stays where he is, breathing carefully. Finally, Taeyang speaks. I don't know, he says, voice rough, if I'm supposed to apologize for that or not. Jungkook closes his eyes for a second, just one. When he opens them again, he exhales slowly and crosses the room, sitting on the edge of the bed beside Taeyang. I have something to offer, he says quietly, if you're willing to take it. Taeyang turns to him, then really turns, fear flashing across his face, tangled with hurt and confusion. Jungkook sees it all, and it hurts in a way he has no language for. It hurts to know that Taeyang is wounded, not by the night itself, but by the realization of who was there with him. The young swallows hard, pushes the pain down where it belongs. If you want, he says, voice steady only because he forces it to be. You can use me. The young recoils as if struck. What? His voice shakes. What are you even saying? You can use me, Jungkook repeats softly, the way you did last night. The young's breath stutters. His hands tremble at his sides. No, he says quickly. No, you are precious to me. He loves you dearly. I would never, I would never do that to Jungkook. We are friends. The young lets out a quiet, humorless chuckle. Friends, he asks, turning his head slightly to look at the young. Barely. He always busy, always somewhere else. You were with me because you wanted to be closer to him. His voice stays gentle even as the truth cuts deeper. We weren't friends. Never. You and me. My brother barely knows me. He has had his own things to do all the time. You were the only one who stayed, and even that was because of him. The young stares at him stunned, like he is hearing something he has always known but never allowed himself to say. If we are not even friends, he asks quietly, then why are you even saying this? Why are you offering something like that? Jungkook stands. He moves to the closet, pulling out the rest of his clothes with unhurried motions like he needs the routine to keep himself uptight. He does not turn around when he speaks. Because I want this, he says, and I want you. In any way I can have you, even if that means offering you what my brother can't, even if that means being his substitute. The young's chest tightens, fear floods his eyes, hurt, confusion, something close to panic. Jungkook turns then. His eyes are warm, devastatingly so, loving in a way that feels almost cruel. If I can't have what I want, he continues softly, then I'll let you have what you want, so I can keep a piece of you, even if it's not meant for me. Tears gather in the young's eyes before he can stop them. His voice breaks. Why would you even want a piece of me? He whispers, when it's not you I want. The Jungkook's lips part on a breath that trembles despite his best effort. Because it's you I want, he says. Only you. It has only ever been you. He holds the young's gaze for a moment longer, then turns away, picking up his keys. The door closes softly behind him. The young remains on the bed, naked and shaking, marks blooming across his skin. Jungkook's fingerprints still pressed into places that ache. His nails have left scratching down Jungkook's back, evidence of a night that can never be undone. The college hallway is noisy, with students rushing past, but the young barely registers any of it. He's halfway through his notes. Pencil tapping absentmindedly against the decks when a voice cuts through the chaos like a fear. Taeyang, my boy. Before he can even look up properly, Jungkook is there, arms wrapping around him in a grip so sudden and strong that Taeyang feels himself lifted slightly off the ground. Jungkook spins him in a circle, laughing loudly, and Taeyang can't help it. He laughs too hard, hammering, fingers tangling around Jungkook's shoulders instinctively as he yanks him back. What? What is happening? What are you doing here? And why do you sound so happy? Then gasps, trying to disentangle himself, though he doesn't want to. Jungkook grins, leans down, kissing Taeyang's forehead in a gesture so ordinary and intimate that something twists painfully in Taeyang's chest. Just nothing, he says lightly, though there is a spark in his eyes. Jungkook asks someone out, and she agrees. We are going on a double date this weekend, though we could come and ask you if you have found someone yet. Maybe the three of us could go together. The words hit Taeyang harder than he expects, hard enough to press his hands against his chest, swallow thickly, and stare at Jungkook like he's just punched him in slow motion. Jungkook asks someone out. His voice cracks at the last word, disbelief hanging between them. Jungkook blinks at him and then smiles, trying to laugh it off. Yeah, can you believe it? I couldn't either. But it's not Jungkook's words that Taeyang hears. They blood. They melt into the storm in his chest. He can't think past the fact that just a few nights ago, Jungkook had confessed everything, had said things that left him raw, trembling even, desperate, and now he's out there, going on a date with someone else, and with Jungkook, a double date. Jungkook tilts his head at him, notices the sudden quiet, and frowns slightly. Taeyang, you okay? You are really quiet. Taeyang swallows again, hands clenching at his sides. He forces a smile that doesn't reach his eyes, shakes his head slowly. Yeah, I'm fine, he says, but the words feel hollow, empty even to him. He doesn't know how to explain the storm inside, the way the joy in front of him feels like a knife in his chest. Jungkook leans back, still smiling, but Taeyang can see the faint worry flicker in his eyes. The hallway is loud again, students passing, laughter and footsteps bouncing off the walls, but for Taeyang, there is only the weight of his own heart. Straining, bleeding quietly, and the cruel, undeniable knowledge that he has no right to feel this way, and yet he cannot bring himself to stop. The date night. Jungkook has been counting the minutes since they sat down. Jungkook sits across from him, arms slung comfortably around his girlfriend's shoulder, leaning close, smiling like this is exactly where he wants himself to be. Beside her is the friend, polite and pretty, and trying a little too hard to make conversation with Jungkook. Who nods and hums at the night moments without really hearing a word honestly. He feels like an extra chair pulled into a space that was never meant for him. He had said yes because his brother asked, because he thought maybe a distraction would help, because he wanted something to drown out the memory of Taeyang's eyes that morning. The way fear and hurt had tangled together when Jungkook told him the truth. He tells himself that this is fine, that he can sit through this dinner, that he can smile and be normal, but his mind keeps betraying him. Taeyang's voice, the drama in it, the way he stood there naked and undone, looking at Jungkook like he didn't know whether to stay or run. And the way Jungkook had walked out before he could beg himself to stay. His phone vibrates in his pocket once, then again. He freezes. He pulls it out on the table, heart already racing, and when he reads the message, everything else disappears. Please come. I need you. This is all it says. No explanation, no address, not even an apology. Jungkook is on his feet before he realizes he has moved. I need to go, he says abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. Jungkook looks up startled. What? Cook? What do you mean? We just ordered. I'm sorry, Jungkook says, already backing away. I really need to leave. He does not wait for questions. He does not look back. He's out the door before anyone can say his name again. The drive is a blur. Red lights barely register. His hands grip the steering wheel too tightly, just tight with something dangerously close to panic. He does not remember deciding where to go. His body knows before his mind catches up, honestly. Taeyang's apartment comes to interview too quickly. He barely parks before he is at the door, knocking hard, impatience bleeding into desperation. His heart pounds so loudly he thinks it might give him away. The door opens and then Taeyang stands there. His eyes are red and raw, lashes clumped together like he has been crying for hours. His lips are swollen, split slightly like he has been worrying them between his teeth. He looks wrecked in a way that makes Jungkook's chest ache violently. Cook. Taeyang does not finish the word. He moves forward, suddenly hands fisting into Jungkook's jacket, pulling him inside and shutting the door behind him with a dull thud. His mouth crashes against Jungkook's, desperate and unsteady, like he is afraid Jungkook might disappear if he does not anchor him there with his body. Jungkook gasps softly against his lips, turned for a half second before instinct takes over. His hand comes to cupping Thing's face, grounding him, kissing him back with gentleness that does not match the urgency of the moment, but somehow steadies it. Taeyang makes a broken sound in his throat, fingers tightening, clencing like Jungkook's the only solid thing left in the world. His body trembles, pressed close, heart beat wild against Jungkook's chest. I didn't know who else to call. Taeyang breathes against his mouth, voice cracked and uneven. I tried not to. I really did. Jungkook rests his forehead against Taeyang's, breathing him in, eyes closed like this hurts too much to witness fully. You don't have to explain, he murmurs. I'm here. Taeyang exhales shakily, hands sliding up Jungkook's shoulder, holding him like he might fall apart if he lets go. The kiss softens, slows, becomes something aching and full of need rather than urgency. Taeyang pulls back just enough to look at him in the eyes, eyes glossy and searching. Sorry for ruining your date. He whispers like the word itself wounds him. No, please, Jungkook replies quietly. I was just putting up with everything. You saved me better. Jungkook says, pressing a soft kiss to Taeyang's lips, brushing his fingers through his locks. Taeyang swallows, responding once like he is feeling that apology away somewhere. He will unpack later. For now, he leans back into Jungkook's arms, wrapping around him tightly, face pressed into his neck. Jungkook holds him without any question. The night dissolves into something neither of them can hold on to clearly. Later, Jungkook will remember fragments rather than moments. Taeyang's waist against him, the way his hands had clutched at Jungkook's shoulder as he rammed into him like a wild beast. The sound of things was breaking, bleeding. Moaning, filling the room until there was nothing else left to hear. Jungkook remembers holding him through it all, pressing his face into Taeyang's hair, whispering his name like a promise he never should have made. And at this time, when Taeyang calls out, it is Jungkook's name. Not confused, not mistaken. Jungkook. The sound of it cuts through him in a way he does not understand. It should feel like a victory. It should feel like relief. Instead, something twists painfully in his chest, sharp and sorrowful, like being chosen too late or for the wrong reason. He cries quietly into Taeyang's shoulder, letting the tears come without explanation. Because there is no space left in him to pretend that this is not breaking him. When the morning comes, it comes slowly. Jungkook wakes first. He lies there for a while, staring at the ceiling, staying warm beside him, breathing unevenly like sleep has not fully claimed him yet. He gets up quietly, pulling on his clothes, giving himself a few minutes in the bathroom to steady his breathing. When he comes back, Taeyang is awake. He is sitting on bed sheets gathered around his waist, elbows resting on his knees, staring at nothing. He looks older, somehow. Taeyang speaks without looking at him. I have been in love with your brother since I was 12. Jungkook stops moving. I'm 24 now. Taeyang continues, voice calm in a way that feels rehearsed. And he's 27. That is the age where people start settling down, dating seriously, building something real. I always thought I would be, I don't know, I always blamed myself for wanting something that was never mine. Jungkook sits slowly on the edge of the bed, hands clenched on his lap. He knew Taeyang loved his twin brother, but listening it from Taeyang's mouth directly hurt. One thing I never saw coming, Taeyang says, finally turning to look at him, eyes rimmed red, was this, sleeping with his twin brother, almost convincing myself that I could do it again. Jungkook closes his eyes briefly. He does not interrupt. When he told me that you were going on a date, Taeyang continues, voice cracking. I didn't understand what I felt. I thought I was scared of losing him, but then I realized I was scared of losing you too. He laughs softly, broken, and that scared me even more. Jungkook opens his eyes then. Taeyang wipes at his face impatiently. I don't think it's because I like you, he says quickly, like he needs to say it before he loses courage. I know I don't. No, I never will. And I think that's why this isn't fair. Not to you, not to him. Jungkook's chest tightens painfully. Even now, Jung Tae says, voice barely holding together. I'm not thinking about myself. I'm thinking about him. About what's fair to him, about what I should and shouldn't do. I'm graduating in a week, he says suddenly. After that, I'm leaving the city. I think if I put distance between us, I'll finally understand what I want, who I am without you both. Fear hits Jungkook like a physical blow. He moves without thinking, standing abruptly and pulling Taeyang into his arms, pressing him hard against his chest, holding him like letting go without would end him. His body shakes, breath uneven, voice breaking despite the effort to sound firm. No, he says, voice shaking violently. No, you are not leaving. You can't. You have been here for years. You just don't get to disappear like this. You don't want to hurt him? Fine. He doesn't have to know anything, but you're not leaving. Never. His voice trembles now, fear bleeding through every word. I can't wake up one day and not have you exist in my life. Even if I don't see you for weeks, months, I know you're there. That matters. Losing that, I I can't. He pulls back slightly, desperation flooding his eyes. If you want to use me, he says hoarsely, then do it. I'm giving you permission. If I'm consenting, what's the problem? Let me carry your pain. Let me help you forget him. Then forces himself out of Jungkook's arms. No, he says, shaking his head. Tears spilling freely now. I can't. If you care about me even a little, if you love me at all, then you have to let me go. He looks at Jungkook then, really looks at him, and something shifts in his expression. I never knew, Thing whispers. I never knew you loved me. If I had, I would have never stayed this close. I would have never crossed that line. Jungkook drops to his knees in front of him, right there on the floor, pride forgotten entirely. He looks up at Taeyang with wet eyes and voice shaking. That's why you never knew, he says softly. I'm sorry, I'll take it back. I'll forget everything. I swear, just don't leave. You're the reason I wake up every morning, even like this, even complicated. I don't want to lose you. He bows his hand, shoulders shaking. Please, Taeyang. Taeyang does not answer. He stands slowly, gathers his clothes, and walks out of the room without looking back. Oh my god, this hurts. I'm gonna cry. Jungkook stays where he is, on his knees, staring at the empty space where Taeyang stood. Realizing that loving someone quietly does not protect you from losing them. Sometimes it only makes it hurt more. OMG, I'm crying. I hope you guys liked it. Please like, share, and subscribe, and also please comment. And the next part of this one will be posted on Sunday. I have already written it, and I just need to edit. So it will be posted on Sunday, same time. So stay tuned.